Right, hello and welcome to part two of the Japan playthrough. We'll start straight off when we left off yesterday, where we were pushing our way into China. Our next target is Qing China, so we'll start the time rolling and we'll get some of these things sorted out. Now we've got, looking at this while I was setting up there, seeing we need to sort our fuel priorities, wherever that is again. There we go. What we'll do is we'll prioritize our army. Then we will have our navy on the lowest, and we'll have our air as medium fuel priority. We'll only really want to be sending our navy out and about when we know we've got enough fuel to supply them, which we've completely run out of just now. So now that we've got a foothold in the mainland, we will tell our navy to all come home so that they're no longer wasting their fuel. There they go, they'll all come back to port. We might tell some of these task forces, especially our like battleships and that, we might do some upgrades on them soon. This admiral, change this admiral's sign. Japanese. Just put Japan fleet. One. There we go. Just keep them like that just now. Allow our fuel to go back up. About a year. It's going rapidly down. We should have full fuel again. We will set up our new army orders for an invasion into Qing China, which will begin promptly. Actually, I'll make that a spearhead rule order instead, so that we're not. So I can basically tell them to do it and just forget about them. Just put it right away around the country. It tells you that there's not enough units, but it doesn't matter. To be honest, I think Qing China only has maybe 1 or 2 units anyway under our intel. They have 3, so they're doing a bit better than Korea was last time. So the date is 6th of June 1936. We will just continue with a justify war goal. We'll do an instant war because again it's not a major nation, and Japan can do what it likes in Asia as far as I'm concerned. There we go, that's finished, and we will begin our invasion. Just like that. Tell our army to go for it. Unfortunately, we don't have any airfields down here, so this will be a primarily land based invasion of Qing China. But as that's going on, we'll take a look at our occupied territory in Korea, where we'll see how much equipment that basically this is going to be taking up at the moment. So it's only using 0.62 of a division, which is nothing. Their compliance, their resistance will shoot up maybe to about 15%, but by that time their compliance will be high enough to start lowering the resistance, and they should be compliant to us, given a lot of their manpower, industry, and resources by the end of the game. At the moment, we're just putting 500 rifles and 4,000 men to hold Korea, so that's brilliant. That's nothing. They will be slightly will have a resistance growth because we're at war, but again, don't worry. World tensions still low, so we can basically just decimate this whole area while the world tensions are low. Like I said last time, we'll be focusing in the Asian and Oceanic continents. We'll try and take the 2 population centres, India and China. and we will take all the resource is down in Indonesia. That is beautiful resources. That'll probably be one of our next targets after we take maybe Manguku. We'll start going after the Polynesian Empire, who takes the place of the Pacific Islands and New Zealand, Kingdom of Polynesia, run by the glorious David, and then that Kawakua Kawakawakoa, something like that. Uh, they also own Hawaii, so the States doesn't have that, which is good for us. They'll be, unless the States declares war on us, they won't be doing any island hopping. So we might take all the islands in the Pacific, and hold that away from them. Also gives us an easy invasion into the States when we so choose to do so. We'll get rid of that. We don't need our air wings just now. We'll actually tell them to stop because they'll just be wasting fuel at the moment. To research scout planes as well eventually, so that we can actually get intelligence into our neighbouring countries. And I think I'll build a couple of airports in Korea itself. So I'll bump the speed up while we march into Korea. Losing very little men, 13 men to their 1,000. Can't argue with that. And we will also do a bit of war propaganda against them. We're not actually gaining that much political power at the moment, but we'll spend that on our war support so that we get more mobilization speed and attack and defense on core territory and that sort of stuff. That at the moment. Message to say that our army was it our main army's general? It is as well. He's wounded, so he'll be out of service. But to be honest, I don't think our army will. At the moment, they have pretty simple orders. Now that we're starting to get some army experience in, we should be able to do some division altering as well. We'll go to I like getting the radio researched more from my own personal frame of mind. I would prefer my troops had radios than not have radios. Whether it does much in the game towards reinforcement rate is another question, but I'd prefer they actually had them instead. So that war, I mean, they fielded 50,000 men. It's quite impressive for a country that would have started off with nothing. Delete that. That. Two as well. We should be filling up. Yeah, we've almost got enough rifles now. That's always a dream to have enough rifles to equip your men, so that's fine. And we to create our intelligence agency soon. Civilian factories, because we are using it all in trade. Built to build one. That's the problem with Japan initially. If you don't capture any resource areas, as they are demanding all the resources that we need. Fortunately, they don't create a lot on their homeland. Quite a lot of chrome. Good for modern tanks, but not good for anything up until then. So, I think our next target, our next target to take at the same time as China. I think the Philippines are still. Oh no, they're not. They're actually independent. So Americans don't have any. Their colony in the Philippines. So we might try and go for the Republic of Malaysia and then Indonesia, if we've got the naval range, which we surely do. So if we check maybe our battleship, task force. They have range down to the Philippines, so what we might do is invade the Philippines, Malaysia, and then Indonesia. I could put all my long range ships. I don't know how my ranges on my ships at just now. I've been finding that's an actual bug. The range of that destroyer, I am almost certain, is not 1500 kilometers. Suki class. Check that. Under production. Should have the Masuki class somewhere here. Class. Somewhere. Show outdated. Masuki class. Create variant of that. Still saying this range is 15 kilometers. Maybe it is. Convinced though. I have noticed that it's done that bug before where it's told me that the range is far greater than it actually. So what we'll do is we'll start creating our invasion orders into the Philippines. So we get our one Marine from Nagasaki. He'll go straight to Pari at the north of the Philippines. Now the Philippines should have a decent army. Saying it's 2 units. Maybe they've got more. No. And we'll also create the orders, not the actual. We won't assign any units to them just now, but we'll create the orders for the invasion of the first army. We'll eventually create 2 armies, one for all our oceanic campaign, one for our Chinese campaign, which in fact we might do at the moment. Just want to tell them to come from that. So I delete that or delete that. Tell them to come from a different port just so it's easier for me to select them. Do our naval invasion from here for the crack. Tell them to go there. Do as well as we'll also start training infantry divisions. Now, these have a combat width of 24, which back in the day, I'm not sure if it holds any truth anymore, but that was an optimal combat width. For me, training these massive divisions, we use a lot of equipment up, but I think we'll just leave them just now as they are. Right, actually, I think we've got a big stockpile of artillery equipment. We'll definitely add light armored cars to our Marines, because I don't think as a support unit they actually hurt their amphibious attack because they're a support unit. Correct. So we'll put a light company of armored cars as a recon, and we'll put artillery in with our Marines as well, as soon as we've got enough to supply them. We'll also, I was thinking about putting artillery on there, but I mean we'll have a massive deficit of artillery, so what we'll do is we'll just train them up. Train 10 of them up. So they're lacking infantry equipment, which is understandable. Low before we even decided to train those guys. Now we need 13,000, so, but we'll start gaining military factories, start taking provinces. These guys have 1, so that's 1 better than nothing. I'll do as well. I might assign 2, 3, 7, call it 8. We'll assign 8 garrison divisions to the First Army. We will put, what's that, 6? We'll call it 8 divisions, stick it onto the naval invasion order. That way they can come away from the front line, they'll get reinforced by the garrison troops, and it'll start the 56 days it'll take to plan that invasion. Our garrison troops will be more than substantial to attack these Qing China forces. What are they saying? They got 1 to 12 infantry brigades in those divisions, so our garrison units should be able to handle that. Spain has declared war on Spain, so the Spanish Civil War has started. Should be interesting. Turn war off. So this is the Spanish Civil War because we started with a shattered world. The Spain has got Galicia, Barcelona, and what's this? Basque country, all split off from it. So those are portions of the country that no longer fight in the Civil War. So that'll be interesting to see who wins that, or even if the anarchists come out of nowhere. And steal the day for it. Our garrisons are switching places with our main infantry now, so that's fine. Tell these guys to start down this peninsula, this port, and these guys can disengage and go to Harbin. So the empire's growing. Our name tag is getting bigger. Our aircraft carriers should be done just before 1938. Add another 2 aircraft carriers to our arsenal. Aircraft carriers I find are probably the best thing to build. Logically, I would have thought, because as soon as you build a battleship, guns will be out of date. Everything like that will be out of date, engines and everything. Whereas the aircraft carrier, you can build early aircraft carriers, but as long as you can outfit modern planes on them, essentially you don't need to upgrade their armament or their speed or anything like that, as long as they're good to start off with. So I think we'll be building an aircraft carrier heavy fleet for the Japanese. Marines are down there, so they'll be, because they're closer to the Philippine Islands, they'll start the invasion off, and then our first army will come down after them. Should also be able to get bombers in to bomb any ground targets or any strategic positions. This guy's up to that place, which I'm not going to try and Yunqiang. Go there. We've also got some much needed air bases, which we'll probably upgrade here to help bomb and disrupt China. Oofed. Good grief. It's just a shame. That's a shame. Right, so I wonder if we have made that new civilian factory, so I'm just going to use that to create the agency just now. Call it, what will we call it? G-Tube department? Call it super secret Japanese intelligence. Let's see. That's what we'll call it. SSGIA. Found that institute. National mobilization law. Now that should allow us to go to, I think it was war economy, was it? Or just political power? Soviet Union does its leadership purges. National mobilization law? Power? It's political power, did it? We get an extra research slot, that's always handy. These guys should be close to capitulating. Actually got a really high 35% or less. Their country must be really unstable by the time they're capitulating at that high stability. But essentially just now all we need to do is take territory. Just send all my guys off into the hills, creating that much needed front with the Soviet Union, or the Russian Soviet Socialist Republic, seeing as it's not a union because Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Belarus are all out of its control. Georgia and all the other countries down here. So we have about 30 days left on our invasion. And we will just do again our instant war justification on the Philippines. We won't justify war in China. We will do that through probably through the Marco Polo Bridge incident and all that. They're a bigger nation, and doing the instant war is a bit cheaty in my view. So that's the rules we're going to be putting on ourselves. Self-made rules for this playthrough. Same with Australia, we won't be justifying war instantly on them. India the same, Russia the same, all the big nations. But all the wee ones will just insta war, so we don't have to go through the 180-day wait to justify a war goal, to then find out that in the last 10 days it gets guaranteed by another country when they can guarantee at any point in the justification. Not enough power or equipment, so we still need infantry equipment to fill the garrisons. Should be getting filled before these infantry divisions are hired, or trained. So I've actually got a bit to switch on at the start of the stream. Switch that on as well. It's a little bit of background music too. Something a bit chilled out, hopefully. I haven't listened to most of this playlist, so hopefully it's alright. Should be close now. 2% more, so that's only a few provinces. That's probably them actually there now. Then that'll be another occupied territory to add to our garrison list. And you can see now that Korea needs a lot more of a division because they've got a higher resistance rate, and that'll actually be going up faster just now because we are actually at war. And that's them. 848 rifles, 20,000 fuel. A whole lot of land on this map, bigger than China, Japan almost. There we go. A province that I nearly missed. Brilliant. So, next target with the rest of the First Army will be Mangugu, which will probably simultaneously invade at the same time as the Philippines, which will be done in, what, 20 days? Fulfilled import from Brazil, and we're taking in too much aluminium, because I think we actually get our aluminium now from, a little bit from old Qing China. At least we're gaining our rifles back again. This was at 16,000, so now we're at 13, so we are slowly getting them back. Same with support equipment. I always find support equipment's a problem in my games. More dockyards. So I think we will show any outdated equipment. The Olympics are held. I think we will maybe build another carrier. Build one more of these carriers. Then hopefully by that time we'll actually be able to upgrade our carriers. Maybe we'll get a bit of naval experience eventually, especially when we go into fight China. What are we upgrading just now? Our inventory equipment. So we've actually got, let's see what equipment we've actually got into our army just now. This is one of my favourite parts of this Hearts of Iron, actually looking through what you've got in your army. So we have 24 armoured cars, 36 artillery pieces, pretty much only in our marine division, which that'll need to change once you get artillery rolled out to all our troops, because it's vital. Infantry equipment. Basic stuff that we've taken from, that we had in stock and that we've taken from Qing China and Korea. Loads of motorized. It's actually surprising how much motorized you start with. It's Japan. Support equipment and tanks as well. Armored brigades actually. We do. Oh, we created our intelligence agency. So we will farm each of these departments. We'll just do that just now. It'll take away from us actually building our civilian factories, but it's worth it. It's worth it. We've actually gained civilian factories because it changed over to war economy there not too long ago. But that is us almost at the 56 days, so we'll do our Justify War goal. It's a war on the Philippines, and we'll also do it on Mangugu. Wait for the 0 days to pass for them to both trigger. There we go. And we will now send our navy out. Put our battleships on naval invasion support. They will support air, they will support will support there. So they will basically follow our naval invasion fleet from Hiroshima down to the Philippines. Again, this is overly planned out for a country who will have no navy, but it's good to get all in there. Now these guys, I want my 2 destroyer fleets not to invasion, we want them to patrol. Them to pretty much patrol those same paths, and we will also set our carrier fleet to do the same as patrol. Actually, we'll set our carrier fleet to a strike force, just in case for some reason the Philippines have 100 ships out there to combat us. That's what we'll put out now. These will be our war games. These countries will be our war games, our practice to invading scarier, more determined nations. Maybe not more determined, but better defended nations. Turn that off, we won't need that. We will improve our workers' conditions, even though it uses political power up. I should probably use that on a silent workhorse in the government menu, but stability is always good as well. That should be our naval invasions off. Both our marines and our first army troops are in the water, heading towards the Philippines. And Mengugu is getting steamrolled. We will watch the invasion down here. We'll also set up our bombers to go down to here in Okinawa, and they should have range, which they don't, I don't think. These guys have range? No, they're just out of range for the Philippines, unfortunately. Take the airplanes off them, tell them to Imperial strike, port strike. So when they do have an opportunity, they will. That's our Marines and our first army landed on the Philippines, so we will tell them to take it. Our Marines will actually get involved this time. The last time they didn't. They were just holding the initial landing, so they will get involved now. So let's just research that department. We'll go to research the army department now. Recruit our first spy. None with any special bonuses or anything like that, so we'll just go with Takeo Yoshikawa. Go with him. Just leave him on counterintelligence in the homeland for the moment. Wars are going fine though just now. Pushing down the Philippines. We can now... Oh, and Mengugu's capitulated. So we'll take that land. Golia. Is that still... Yeah, they're still in the Comintern faction, so attacking them would be unwise. So tell our navy to go back to port. Longer needed out in the water. Then once we've taken the Philippines, that'll give us a good naval invasion point for us to invade Malaysia and Indonesia. New research. Some military factories we could do for them. Get our next research technology, which will be do anything with our fires at the moment. Still a way off that. We'll go with the Hago, I think. We'll start building tanks as well. I think, do I actually have any tanks in production? No. So I'll actually put some tanks in production. Just a factory, just to keep some on the go. If we have any spare factories. That's what I'll just take. They are actually making. Fall of Manila. It's the capital of the Philippines fallen. So hopefully that some of these islands that aren't connected to the mainland, they'll fall just when they capitulate. They should do. We've actually lost quite a lot of men. Oh, actually no. Just as that flipped. Just as they lose 10,000 men, good grief. Poor Philippines. And the Americans had a cavalry division on the Philippines in the war. I think it was the last cavalry division used by, I think it was a Western nation or something like that. We're slowly pushing through it. And we should start training more marine divisions, as many as we can, and I think we will just keep going with them. Just put it on an infinite, and every time we have enough special forces units we can just put them into our marine divisions. Actually prioritize them first for equipment. Army departments research, going to the naval, give us just more and more information of our enemies. Research these yet. They're still a little bit off. Got military police though, that's brilliant. Good grief, loads of stuff went through there. Research. Have got a logistics company on the go for our marines. Next, artillery. Also get some anti-air and anti-tank. Maybe start building up some of them. As I said before, I've been trying to play slightly differently, and rather than solely focusing on artillery or anti-air or anti-tank, do a more realistic approach and do the whole lot a little bit slower. Resistance. Now this screen starts to get a bit more interesting. Show non-resistant countries. Off. We actually need 5 divisions, almost 6 divisions to compete against the resistance in Qing China. Now what we'll do is we'll go into our our cavalry divisions that are doing this just now. As if I remember. Dominions break with a crown. So this means that South Africa, everybody, have made their own faction, and Australia, and they've actually, England's completely out of a faction now. That's good for us when we come to attack Australia. It means that we're not going to have the Royal Navy coming over against us. Turn the Navy against us. So, that's that decision. Air wings that our Marine Army General has fallen ill. Probably got malaria. We have any other decisions? Oh, we do. So, what will we go on to now? I think we'll specialise in military factories. I think I'll give us a slight construction speed debuff on our dockyards, but I think we'll go with that. And we need a lot more steel, so Australia, please. Can't build anything else. Does that? Oh, and the Philippines is capitulated. Take all states. Turn. Done. Lovely. So that's the next part of our plan completed. We don't need much more rubber. We'll take it away from Brazil. Get a bit more steel from Gangxi Clique, seeing as they're the closest, and if we take them we can take advantage of the civilian factories or the development that they built up with those factories. Almost finished all the intelligence departments. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Right, back to these garrisons. So, 6 and a bit garrisons for Qing China because their resistance is going up quite a bit. With these cavalry divisions, we will duplicate one and we'll call it the military police. Military police division. We'll add military police support to it, and we will also add an armored car unit. We'll actually add an armored car, and we'll also add can't add it just now, but I'm going to want to add a tank brigade to that as well, just so that nobody takes any piss with the Japanese military police. So we'll save that. We'll also tell them to get the rubbish equipment. We don't want them taking it all. Now, do they have? They don't. We will leave it as a. We'll change their name to a garrison unit. Not like it will be creating any of these units, but we'll leave it to that. Then we'll go on to the occupied territories, and you'll see that they need 6.8 divisions in Qing China to keep them under control. When we change these over to military police divisions, you see the manpower per suppression value goes from 500 men down to 402 men. Their production cost goes a little bit up, but they got harness as well, which hurts their resistance as well. So when we change it over to this, you'll see it goes from 6 divisions needed down to 4. So they're a lot more efficient. Costs a little bit more than the other one, but we also need less, so actually probably works out. So that should be. Don't have enough equipment for our Philippines resistance, but that's alright. Let's see, we now need a lot of armoured cars and a lot of support equipment now because of the military police in those divisions. But we will build them up, and it means that slowly over time, as these become less dependent on their military police because of their resistance going down, it means we'll also need less equipment to actually give to the military police divisions. Right, we can go to total mobilization. That'd be good. I think total is actually the best. Gives us a minus on recruitable population though, so I don't think we'll go to that at the moment. I think instead we will go to liaison conferences. Yes, that's what we'll do. Go to them next. Just need a little bit more rubber and a lot more steel. A lot more steel because we're not getting it from Australia. Tell you what, as soon as it's on and off at Australia, we'll change it to the Gangsta Clique. And we will get some more from India. And so Malaysia. Does that get us up yet? Nope, still more it needs. Argentina. How much steel do we need? Chile. Brazil. There we go. Finally got enough steel. Finally got enough steel. And we don't have enough civilian factories to do any more on our intelligence agency. Right, for our next venture. We will not declare war anymore in China with the instant justification war goal. What we'll do now is we'll go down this tree here and we will basically do this and build up. Now what do we have for resources in this area? Vietnam, but quite a bit. Is that actually in Vietnam? Yeah, that's in Vietnam. So Vietnam would be a good prize. Cambodia and Laos, there's not much into them. Much resources anyway. Burma's got a lot. Siam and Malaysia is just ridiculous. So while we're waiting for these focuses to run for China and all these, I think we're going to do an invasion of Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia. Just to basically take out this section. The war score, world tension is going up quite a lot now. As you can see, even though we are doing those instant justifications, we are actually hurting a lot on the world tension, which will eventually allow people to guarantee countries. Good thing is the Allies won't be doing that anytime soon unless England creates another faction. But we will start doing the naval invasion orders of Vietnam. Going to the port near Hanoi. We will put 4 of our 1st Army divisions to follow the Marine Division into that port. And we will do another 4 to go into port near Saigon. So we'll do a North Vietnam and the South Vietnam invasion. And we'll also declare war on Laos and Cambodia at the same time. Resistance to occupation is going up because we don't have enough equipment. Eventually what will happen is we're going to need to stop our invasions because we'll need to build up our equipment to fight these occupations, because these numbers will skyrocket and these numbers will skyrocket, so we will eventually have to stop, but I think we can take a few more countries first. So won't be able to again get any more planes on the front because we're still out of range. See see if our bombers, if we put our bombers over here, yeah, they can't reach the coast of Vietnam. And we'll only need 1 task force of ships to basically control this region. So it's going to be quite a simple invasion. our intelligence says, well, they're democratic to start off with, so that's interesting. They've got quite a lot of factories, but they've only got 2 units, 2 divisions. We've actually got quite a lot of intelligence on these guys. Quite a lot of intelligence in their navy, because they've got nothing. I suppose that's why we've got enough, quite a lot of intelligence. So this should be, again, an easy invasion. And our infantry equipment is shooting up just now. We've actually got full factories on our infantry equipment now. So probably in the new Hearts of Iron you can actually add factories like that, but I actually still prefer adding another line of infantry equipment, because what will happen eventually is we will need to upgrade our infantry equipment, and if we just have one with say like 60 factories on it and then you want to upgrade it, you jump from one to the next and it gives you huge. I'd rather slowly implement a new set of weapons and slowly get rid of factories out of one and increase it on the other. So that's what we're doing. These are nowhere near done because they need that. So we'll get our navy again set up for this invasion. Just put the carrier fleet, patrol into the South China Sea. We'll also do our justified war goals, just our instant war goals. Because let's face it, a fascist Japan is just going to take, what, once at the moment? Especially when it's uncontested and nobody else in the world is bothered about doing anything about it. So we will, which actually puts world tension down. Never understood that. I guess it's because war goals is finished and we haven't declared war yet. Who knows? Don't really understand that, but hey ho. So that's our naval invasions ready. So what we'll do is we will declare all those wars, all 3 of them. All 3 of those wars are declared, and we'll send our first army and our marines in. They'll all be getting onto their ships, passing the aircraft carrier fleet on the way. And this will really hurt our resistance at the moment. It should shoot up because we're, where does it say it? Because we're at war, should shoot up. But once we've taken these 3 countries, we'll sort of chill out for a bit, finish out these ones there, and then we'll have the war in China to deal with anyway. So our troops are landing at Hanoi and at Saigon pretty much simultaneously. Saigon's gone. Port at Hanoi is taken. Means we'll go up to that. We'll tell our first army troops down south to go into Cambodia. We'll tell our first army troops up north to go into Laos. Change that from those guys to those. And away they go. Marines took Hanoi, and Vietnam is still, they still need to take quite a lot of provinces in Vietnam, but it's just going to happen with time. Don't need to do any more war propaganda, we're 100%, but our liaison conferences are done. Now, don't want to join the Axis. We'll start our own faction. So we don't need any help from the Germans. In fact, if we go over and see what Europe's actually getting up to, Germans look like they're going probably almost historical. They're not assassinating Hitler or anything daft like that yet. Spanish are still stuck in their civil war, which looks like it's almost going relatively historical apart from the parts that have broken off already. Tell these guys, we'll actually tell the rest of the First Army to come in to the south of Vietnam. The tank guns are done, and aircraft guns are done, and the artillery is done. Start researching scout planes, fighters, although we should get the Zero with a focus. Hopefully I haven't missed that. We'll go with our next tactical bombers as well. Actually, we'll go with strategic bombers. See if we can get longer ranges to bomb things further afield. Taking in plenty of rubber now, so we no longer have to do that. To up our aluminium though, and our steel. Steel looks like it's going to be a big problem. We'll need to find our nearest steel, probably Malaysia, but it's still only 26. We'll take our steel from China. Right, where's our nearest steel that we can take? Australia's got a bit, but we need to take the whole of Australia and deal with the South Africa and Canada. India's got a bit as well. India's got a decent amount. Russia's got a bit up here. That would be nice. I think our targets for steel are going to be Gangxi Clique, I think. India and Australia. Our next one will be Malaysia. That's the next place we'll get steel, but it's not going to be enough. These outer provinces. Start telling these guys to come here, make Vietnam capitulate. There we go, that's the anarchists come in on the Spanish Civil War. That'll severely hurt Republican Spain in it. Looks like it might be a nationalist victory. They've taken Madrid. Research the Hago. It's the anarchists. Hago. I'd like to get these once they come. I'd like to have a proper amphibious tank and the amphibious like Amtrak mechanized battalions for the Marines. That would be ideal. To starting doing our land doctrine, and we'll upgrade our Hago tanks. There we go. And we need more steel. Can't take Malaysia fast enough to get some of these much needed resources. There we go. Holiday in Cambodia. actually have no manpower, so that's an. We're just walking in and holding their country. We're going to lose more equipment to actually holding their country than taking it. That number's getting a little bit too high now. These guys don't seem to want to shift. There, you go there, and sort of mop up the final. Go. Spot on. Cool. Get rid of these resistance notifications. We'll pretend like they don't exist, because they will be a problem just now. But we're gaining and put bits in Oceania, and we've got a foothold in Asia now. We'll now need to build up the infantry equipment before we go into China. The good thing is now that because we've got Cambodia and Laos and Vietnam down here, we can actually do, if China unites all the other parts of China together, we can actually do a push from the north and the south, which should be handy. If you just do the push from the north, you get bottlenecked quite quick by the Chinese. We will do the tactical bombers, or better version, longer range versions of them. And finally modify our government, and we will go for the silent workhorse so we get more political power, so we can do a little bit more with our country. Still only 1937. We're still quite early in the game. Still got a long way to go. Cambodia capitulated, so that's even good, better. Nothing apart from manpower. I mean, how much manpower does we actually have there? Tell us 5 million. Does that actually give us? Does it do it per province? Does it? It'll give us a bit of population once they become pliant. And the final parts of Laos. Our military factories doing just now, they're all pretty much there, and will actually be taking quite a lot from the resistance. Oh, fascist Mexicans have come about. That is probably going to be a civil war that's probably going to last the whole of the game. As you can see, the resistance is doing absolute number on all the infrastructure, factories and everything in China. They're destroying everything. We need to stop that. Oh, and Lace is gone. Right. Spot on. Right. First army we're going to set up to the north of China, because that's going to be probably our next big battle. If we actually take a look at terrain, it's not very good map mode. What have we got? forest, mountains, plains. Is this plains or marshes? No, it's plains. So what we'll do is we'll put our mobile divisions down south. First time we use these guys. Seeing as there's more plains and less mountains as there is in the north. Created that pact, and we'll now start pissing off China. Polish-Romanian alliance. That's interesting. Shanxi join. Good grief. Loads of stuff. Hindenburg's crashed, so no more airships in the world. Zog submits to Italy. Factions. I actually thought they were in a faction now, but that's not good. So the United States has actually gone ahistorical, and instead of going neutral, they are actually going to pursue different ventures. So that'll be intervention in Asia. This could be interesting. They might just declare war on us. We will need to get our affairs in order then. We will need to make sure that we are prepared. And this, at the moment, isn't being prepared. So we need to up our infantry equipment. Which, I mean, I think we're producing producing enough. It's just our resistance which is hurting us heavily. Do it for the most. Yeah, it's just our resistance that's hurting us heavily. But they are going down. As you can see, it's not like we're still rocketing up. We're no longer at war. We're going up a bit in Vietnam and that, but that's just because we've taken it. Philippines is going down, so we should keep it under control. But if we look, we still need 4,000 infantry equipment for our garrisons. A lot of armoured cars and a lot of support equipment, so we will get there eventually. I don't think there's anything we actually need to change in our production. I still want to produce all these things. The other thing I like doing is keeping one of my infantry, because infantry equipment is the thing that you produce the most of. When I upgrade my infantry equipment, I'd like it, if I get factories damaged, to not start damaging all my air power. I'd rather it damage my infantry equipment, so that will be the buffer instead of my airplanes. %39% resistant Mengutu. They're going down though, so getting there. And once we've done the Marco Polo Bridge incident, which basically just pisses off everybody in China, we will leave the secure China just for a second while we take a breath, and we'll probably go into some of these, probably try and get the zero as fast as we can, because I think the zero is pretty much dominant up until 1943, around about then, the variants of the zero in the Pacific Theatre anyway. Our mobile divisions are getting in place, and what we'll do is we'll do the same as we did in South and split half of this army to go. Make sure we don't have any supply issues, which we don't. So hopefully when we do go to war with China, I mean, Jesus, oh, oh no. Oh, the Spanish Civil War. Carlos Spain is in now. This is just a mess. Spanish, does that say Spanish Directory? Do we even have nationalist Spain anymore? Republican. Oh, is this nationalist Spain here? Carlist. Anarchist. Woofed. What a mess. What a mess. Decision, no? What can we decide? Something to do with these. We go with what we'll do is we'll go with the draft exemptions to counteract prioritizing steel for guns. Basically so that we could gain those military factories without any real repercussions. 100% stability, 100% war support, brilliant. This number stopped. Or was this at 19,000? It actually might be coming down, which is good. Really good. Up the speed. 40% world tension though. Luckily, the Allies aren't around, unless the South Africa, Australia, and Canada seem to think that they are the Allies now and will start guaranteeing nations. I think we should be alright. Zeep San Ma isn't a part of the Chinese United Front, which is interesting. Look at the amount of troops. Edward VIII empowers King's Party. King is now appointed the leaders of the newly formed pro-monarchist King's Party, Winston Churchill. So it is now the Kingdom of England we've gone back to. There you go. No longer, oh, what is this they're doing? God save the king. Very good. So they're actually a non-aligned party now, which will also be another reason why the Allies got disbanded. So the Royal Navy, who knows what it'll be doing. Ships are still out and about, which will stop, so we don't waste fuel on that. We are pretty much wasting fuel on that. Keeping an aircraft carrier running. Think as well how many batteries. Get another factory from Colombia onto actually importing oil. Infantry equipment starting to come down. This is a slow area now, the in between occupation and wars, where we have to build up to actually hold the ground that we're taking. As these becomes filled up though, we'll need less and less equipment to actually hold them. We'll need to get over that mark, actually be able to they're actually already giving us quite a lot. I mean, 50,000 men from country is actually it's quite good for our manpower, especially when we're pretty much reusing that manpower to to hold the country under control. So it works out. You could just give us more of our factories and stop destroying them. Then that would help even more. Where are we at on our focus? To full speed just now, seeing as this is a sort of interwar peacetime, we'll call it. The peace of June 30th of June 1937. Amelia Earhart disappears, so that's just historical. So we won't be seeing her in any of the American squadrons. Spain is confused. Extremely confused. Don't know who's going to win this now. It's probably going to be the Republicans. That'll be interesting to see. I wonder if France strengthen the union. What are they up to? They're going communist. They're going communist. Right, let's do a little bit of focus goals. Well, actually, that Marco Polo bridge incident gave us actual justification on China. So, do that whenever we want. We'll leave that just now for a while because we're not quite ready for that. The equipment's coming down rapid, so that's good. Built-in sabotage. Leave that just now. Just do with a bigger stockpile of infantry equipment. As you can see, some of it's slowly getting into these as they try and thieve all the rifles off the production line for our divisions. A few more factories have come up for our equipment too, which are really doing. We got enough factory to do. We can actually build up, become spy master as well, which we will probably do because it gives us an extra spy. We'll start adding anti-partisan defense, and we will actually change this guy to root out resistance in, where will we go? Who I think was the biggest resistance. Put him in there. Because the less resistance we have, the less rifles we'll need. Down to 10,000 now, so we're getting there. Maybe by the start of 1938, we might be able to actually think about invading China. More resources though. Saying that, less aluminium for more rubber. What's our export limit? There we go, that's the strategic bombers. developed, and the new fighters developed, and the new scout planes developed, which we'll all need to build. I'm not going to do heavy fighters in this playthrough. I'll leave them out. Actually, will I? Screw it. Yeah, we'll do heavy fighters too. As I said, my playthroughs now, I'm going to try and have a broader approach to my research. I also would like to start researching some naval stuff. Next, destroyers, I think. Oh. So who won? Oh no, they just took out the anarchists. Partisan, again. Change these terrible things over to these guys. We'll also add. We'll pause, as that goes absolutely mental. Italy pursues closer bombs of Germany. Poland seeks Baltic cooperation, so they should have created that faction Medizimor, so they'll probably unite some of the Baltic nations together. Italy's joined the Axis. Done our new focus, which we will focus on carriers. 3 dockyards, which we will put onto this battleship. Doesn't have full dockyards. Need even more steel. Some more from Scotland. Malaysia. Whole shebang. Yes, that's fine. Not be able to produce anything else, so we've reached the limit of our civilian factories. Also research research this yet? Quite. Can research these, and we're probably behind on these actually. Researching everything else. Well, the anarchists are definitely not going to win the Spanish Civil War. Carlists might. Good grief, we are running low on steel. Can't do much about it. We'll probably have to invade the China just for the steel. This number's coming down to a lot healthier number, and you'll see because of that our actual resistance is coming right down as well, because we're finally getting enough to quell the resistance. So we actually need to put into production. They won't be produced, but we'll put into production our scout planes, our strategic bombers, which we will put above the transport planes, and we will also need. That's it for just now, actually. Probably need to make carrier fighters out of these guys, unless we get the zeros first. Then we'll mass produce them. Just put them to 1 just now. Oh yeah. So much better. Right, well we'll start just as we're waiting, we'll start putting in the orders for the invasions. Just do a first stage invasion, and then we'll do a second stage into China. So we'll do a first stage there, a first stage there. And we'll also do a first stage here, first stage to here. have a lot of divisions on these. We have very few. We'll pull our Marines back. Nagasaki. I'll put a random invasion order just there, just to pull them back. I won't actually do that invasion, but allow the units to be pulled back over. So that's a new tactical bombers researched. Just do the computer machines, even though it's slightly behind. Exip Sama joins the United Front, so we'll want them to fight too. That's the next thing I'm wanting to build here. Not going to be doing any blueprints, stealing any of these really. Might do commando training, but we'll leave it just now. Can recruit another operative though. Linguist and a seducer. Yamagata, our second spy, and he will just be doing the same thing as our first spy at the moment. Be in rooting out resistance and going up here in so to layouts and do it. Dockyards, more free dockyards. Actually, was that a carrier that we just produced there? We just produced a carrier. Dead. 2 carriers, in fact. That'll be a good addition to our navy. And that's where we're putting all our steel. So, well, we actually want to produce those tactical bombers too. Actually, no, some already got them. Delete that. Ships. What we'll probably do is we'll finish producing ships now until I upgrade my navy. Can we actually upgrade any of our task forces? These upgrade. Here's our carrier fleet. What we'll do is, Spanish Civil War being won? No, Carlos Spain just wiped out the other faction. Get another operative, I think, at the moment. Sufficient use of those political power points, but never heed. We're almost there. We're almost breaking even on our infantry equipment. That's what we want to see. That is what we want to see. All our resistances coming down. In fact, these guys 24%, so almost at 25, which will give them the required garrisons will go down, which you can already see they're going down as it is. More population recruitable, so we're back up to 1 million population that we can recruit, and I think we're still on the lowest limited conscription, one of the lowest conscription laws, so that's brilliant. We are training our infantry divisions now, which is good. We will actually create another army, and these will be our naval invasion armies that will come in along the coast here. We will, instead of doing a head-on assault, because the Chinese will have a lot more divisions than we will. Ours are better quality, but they'll have more. We will do naval invasions just like they did historically along the coast. So we'll wait until some more of them are changed. Actually, we'll just put them into an army just now. This will be the second army. Second army. Color them. Just color it red as well. Who will we put in charge? Do with an infantry expert. I think we'll put a politically connected samurai in charge of those guys. Put them in to the first army group as well. Italy's claim on Greece, so Greece is about to get invaded. There we go. We'll keep heading down, trying to basically beeline to that 0. We'll expand the SNLF as well, the Japanese Marines. But fortunately, I'm going to have to call this to a close soon. But I'm uploading all these different all these episodes to YouTube as well, so you can find it under the picked if you want to re-watch them. Can we get any more? Lovely. And we've got loads of steel now from stopping producing all those aircraft carriers. Take all these civilian factories back so that we can focus them more on creating more civilian factories. Just take the rest that we need from Scotland. Oh, operative can be recruited. Hiroshi Araki. And we will put him on resistance as well in the Philippines. As you can see, the resistance isn't even a problem now that we've got enough rifles to quell it. But we also need rifles to attack China, so hopefully we won't need so many. Right, what will we do here? Trade construction, or don't think I'll do either of them. I'll leave them and I'll close that. I'm not going to do any more on that because that's just going to hurt either my military production or my naval production, and I don't want to do either of them. And we'll close that at the moment. We'll not test the Russians yet. But anyway, I'm going to have to pause that now and have to call this the end of stream. Like I say, it'll be uploaded to YouTube as well if you like to watch it there. But no, thank you for watching, listening, and I will see you next time.